Ever get a handwritten thank you note?
Sure.
Now imagine it's from, like, royalty, praising your company.
Okay, getting a little more specific.
That's the Koninklijk title in the Netherlands, a royal seal of approval.
Wow, so it's a really big deal then.
We're talking way beyond just a fancy logo on your product. It's centuries of history, crazy high standards. Think of it like how businesses become cultural icons.
I can see why you'd want to do a whole deep dive on this. I'm ready to learn all about it.
Perfect, because today we're using Royal Dutch Gazelle bikes. They practically invented the word bicycle over there as our case study to understand what this honor is all about.
I'm guessing they've got one of these Koninklijk titles.
You'll have to wait and see. But by the end of this deep dive, let's just say you'll be dropping knowledge about Dutch business like a pro.
Music to my ears. So fill me in, where do we even begin with this whole Koninklijk thing?
It's kind of like the business version of getting knighted, right? And like any good knighting ceremony, we've got to start with some history.
I knew you'd say that. Take us back in time.
Picture the 1800s, a young country trying to make its mark on the world. Enter King William I, who's got this vision of a modern, industrialized Netherlands.
So he's thinking big picture.
Exactly. And he sees these royal honors, the Koninklijk titles, as a way to recognize the companies that are absolutely crucial to the country's success.
Makes sense. Give him a pat on the back, or a royal decree in this case. What kind of companies were we talking back then?
Think trade, shipping, manufacturing. Basically the backbone of a booming economy.
Which, if you know anything about the Netherlands, they've always been powerhouses in those areas. Ships, spices, you name it.
Exactly. So a Koninklijk title back then was like the king saying, you've helped make this country great, here's a royal thumbs up. But the question is, does it still hold the same weight today? We're not exactly in the era of horse-drawn carriages anymore.
Yeah, though you might still find a few of those around Amsterdam. I'm guessing things have changed a bit since the 1800s.
For sure. But here's the thing. I'd argue this Koninklijk title might matter even more now than it did back then. Think about it. Consumers today are bombarded with choices. Every company is shouting about how great they are.
It's true. It's information overload out there. So how do you cut through all the noise?
Exactly. And that's where Koninklijk comes in. It's a built-in stamp of approval. It tells consumers, hey, we're not some fly-by-night operation here. We've got history, we've got integrity, and we're committed to doing things right.
It's almost like a shortcut for consumers to know, okay, this company has earned its stripes.
But it's not just about resting on their laurels, is it?
Definitely not. In fact, I'd say it's the opposite. To earn this Koninklijk recognition, companies have to be the real deal. We're talking serious longevity, at least a century in business.
A century? Most companies don't even last through one rebranding campaign. What else is involved?
Hold on to your hats, because we're only getting started. They don't just look at how long you've been around. You've got to have made a tangible contribution to the Netherlands, too. We're talking economy, social progress, environmental responsibility, the whole shebang.
Wow, so it's like the Olympics of Dutch business. You've got to be at the top of your game for a very, very long time. Exactly, and it doesn't stop there. We're talking ethical conduct, no shady business practices allowed. Integrity and responsibility are non-negotiables.
They really do look at every single aspect, don't they? No stone unturned.
And last but not least, while you might find a Koninklijk company with international ties, it's primarily a Dutch club. Think of it as a badge of honor for representing the best of what the Netherlands has to offer.
A celebration of Dutch identity woven into the fabric of the business world.
Precisely. But here's the kicker. Meeting all those criteria still doesn't guarantee you the title. We're talking a rigorous vetting process, with the final decision resting on the shoulders of not one, but two major players.
Now I'm really intrigued. Who are these ultimate decision makers?
First up, you've got the Ministry of Economic Affairs. Think of them as the gatekeepers, making sure everything's legit.
So they're the ones who do the deep dive into a company's history, their financials, all that fun stuff.
Exactly. And if, and only if, they give the green light, it goes to the big leagues, the royal household themselves.
Wow. Talk about pressure. They must have quite the to-do list over there. What happens when a company reaches that level?
It's like getting called up to the big leagues, but for businesses.
So are we ready to talk about a company that's reached this Koninklijk status?
Let's get down to brass tacks. What better example to illustrate this honor than one as Dutch as wooden shoes and windmills? Royal Dutch Gazelle bikes.
Now, those are some iconic Dutch images. I'm already getting a sense of just how important this company is.
Gazelle is about as Dutch as it gets. You can't picture the Netherlands without picturing bikes, and for a lot of people, Gazelle IS bikes.
It's like the saying, they're not just making bikes, they're making memories.
Exactly. We're talking about a company that's been around since 1892. They've seen it all: world wars, economic booms, the invention of the internet.
I can only imagine the stories those bikes could tell. But what's remarkable is they haven't just survived all that history, they've thrived. How did they manage that?
By weaving themselves into the very fabric of Dutch life. Think about it. The Netherlands is famous for its cycling culture. It's practical, it's environmentally friendly, it's just what you do over there.
Everyone and their Oma bikes in the Netherlands. So Gazelle tapped into something really essential about Dutch identity.
Precisely. And here's where it gets really interesting. Remember that whole 100-year mark for the Koninklijk title?
The magical centennial anniversary, how could I forget?
Well, in 1992, Gazelle celebrated a pretty big birthday themselves.
Wait, let me guess. Their 100th anniversary.
You got it. Talk about a birthday present. 1992, the year Gazelle turned 100. Yeah, they were awarded the Koninklijk title.
Wow, what are the chances? Talk about a match made in, well, the Netherlands. But they must have been doing something right to earn that honor, right? It's not just about being old.
Absolutely not. Remember all those criteria we talked about: longevity, impact, ethics. Gazelle checks all the boxes. But there is one more piece of the puzzle that's crucial here.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat, lay it on me.
Innovation. A company can't just rest on its laurels, especially in the fast-paced world of, well, everything. You've got to keep moving forward.
Especially in the bike world. Think about it. From those old penny-farthing bikes to what we have today, it's incredible how much technology has changed.
Exactly. And Gazelle has been at the forefront of that change. They haven't just kept up with the times, they've stayed ahead of the curve. For example, they were pioneers in embracing e-bikes, which, if you've ever been to Amsterdam, you know those things are everywhere.
Makes sense. The Netherlands is so flat, perfect for cruising around on an e-bike. It's like they anticipated a need and were ready with a solution.
And that's what sets Koninklijk companies apart. They're not just following trends, they're setting them. But it goes beyond just technology.
Phil.
Gazelle's also super vocal about their commitment to sustainability, minimizing their impact on the environment.
Which, again, aligns perfectly with Dutch culture. They're known for being environmentally conscious. What are they doing specifically?
They've got all sorts of initiatives, from using recycled materials to developing ways to make their manufacturing processes more sustainable. They're even involved in programs to recycle old bikes.
It's like they're saying, we're not just making bikes, we're thinking about the world we're riding them in.
Exactly. And that message, it resonates with consumers, especially today. People care about more than just the bottom line. They want to know that the companies they support share their values.
It's like choosing to buy organic or fair trade. You're making a statement with your purchase. And in this case, with Gazelle, you're getting a quality product from a company with a proven track record of excellence.
It's a win-win. But let's get real for a second. Can we actually measure the impact of this Koninklijk title? Sure, it sounds prestigious, but does it actually translate into tangible benefits for a company like Gazelle?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's tough to quantify because so much of it is about perception, about brand loyalty, those things that are hard to put your finger on. I think it's safe to say the Koninklijk title has definitely contributed to their continued success. It adds a layer of prestige, especially in international markets.
I can see that. Imagine being a consumer in, say, the US and seeing Royal Dutch Gazelle on a bike. You'd immediately think, ooh, fancy, a royal bike, I need that.
It sets them apart from all those other bikes out there.
Yeah.
It tells a story. It says this isn't just some mass-produced item, it's a piece of Dutch heritage. And that, my friend, is priceless.
Talk about effective marketing. But it's more than just marketing, right? It's about building a legacy. It's like the difference between a mass-produced item and a handcrafted heirloom one clearly has a story, a legacy behind it.
And you know what? You're more likely to take care of that heirloom, to treasure it, because you understand its value. It's the same with these Koninklijk companies. They've earned a place in Dutch history, not just in the business world.
Which, for a country as old as the Netherlands with such a rich and interesting past, that's really saying something.
It's like they've become part of the national story. But, you know, this whole idea of a company being deeply rooted in its community and its values, that's not unique to the Netherlands, is it?
Not at all. We see it all over the world. Throughout history, companies that are more than just businesses, they're part of the fabric of their communities.
It makes you wonder, though, What are those Koninklijk qualities we should be looking for in the companies we support, no matter where we live? What can we learn from this tradition, even if we don't have a Dutch bone in our bodies?
It's like that saying, vote with your wallet. Every time we buy something, we're making a choice, right? We have an opportunity to support businesses that actually reflect the things we care about.
So instead of just grabbing the cheapest option or the most convenient, maybe we take a moment to ask ourselves, what are the values we want to see in the world? Do these companies align with those values?
Are they treating their employees fairly? Are they thinking about their environmental impact? Are they giving back to their communities?
Those are the kinds of questions consumers are asking more and more these days. And I think that's a really powerful takeaway from this deep dive into the Koninklijk world.
It's a good reminder that businesses can be a force for good in the world. It's not always about profits over everything else.
Exactly. These companies are proof that you can be successful, you can be around for over a century, and still hold on to those core values. And who knows, maybe by shining a light on these Koninklijk companies and their stories,
Maybe we'll inspire other companies out there to step up their game, to think about the legacy they're building, not just the bottom line.
now wouldn't that be something?
It certainly would. Well, on that note, I think we've done our due diligence for today's deep dive. What an incredible journey it's been.
I couldn't agree more. I've learned so much about the Netherlands, about business, about the power of a legacy.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Right.
Learning, exploring, and hopefully coming away with a fresh perspective. So, until next time, dear listeners, keep asking those questions, and who knows what incredible things you might discover.
The Herd Podcast is produced by the Gazelle International Owners Group on Facebook. The managing editor and executive producer is Gary Fujioka Sr.